Honestly, I'd put it in like B or C.
Don't you dare say C.
But here's why.
Okay. Convince me.
A large part of it is because...
Tear down my childhood for me. Alright, next. Oh my god. Does Kingdom Hearts 1 just have bad platforming? Like, as a game at whole? Because we have Monstro.
Oh, Monstro is very bad.
I think we just need to accept Kingdom Hearts 1 has terrible platforming.
The level names are, like, atrocious for Monstro. Like the state, whatever you call it, the room names.
Yeah, like room B1, C12, or whatever.
Yeah, because it's like, there's like 10 of them with the same name, but just has a different number after. And reading the guide is like, okay, you have to go from room 1 to room 2 to room 4, back to room 3 to room 7. It's like, and then there's like one of the rooms where it's like you're on this little tiny bridge, and if you fall off, then you're back in room 1.
Uh-huh.
It's bad.
So the intro to Monstro, cool, because it comes out of nowhere. We just get eaten by Monstro, a whale in space, pretty hype, all right?
Yes.
The very first room, really cool. It's like the mouth. We get the boat, Geppetto, talking Geppetto, that's cool. And then we get into the bullshit of the fucking Scooby-Doo rooms.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Fucking, you end up going to 1, end up in 5, go in 5, end up in 3, and eventually you'll get to the boss. Eventually. Don't we go through 2, wait, we go through the certain rooms, and we meet Riku and fight the boss with him for a little bit. And I think we go through another set of rooms to get to the boss again, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you because I think you come out to tell Geppetto, like, hey, we found Pinocchio. And then you have to go back and get him.
Because after the first time, we go down to the boat. Yeah, you're right. Oh my god, that world sucks. Okay, but this also has 3D, which I think Prankster's Paradise, actually a really good level. At least every world in 3D, it's good for slow motion, even though it kind of makes them empty. So in Prankster's Paradise, it's an amusement park. So there's like roller coasters, you get to climb shit, spin around shit. And it's actually a better representation of the movie than Monstro. Because Monstro just happens, Monstro's a villain. Making it a whole world is creative, but kind of weird. Like Prankster's Paradise, like I'm kind of disappointed Sora didn't turn to a donkey. That would have been a cool addition, but whatever. So I think that brings it up. And like the Riku section is just Monstro again with a worse boss.
I mean, I think in the original one, it's brought up a little bit by the stuff with Riku, because you kind of start to like get to finally interact with him again, but he's kind of being like a little asshole, and it's like, what's going on here? And it kind of starts to plant the seeds of like, I don't like this guy. I want to kick his ass, like, as the player.
And also plants the seeds of like, Pinocchio is an inanimate object who has a heart. And if you want to be like the more refined brain, just like the replicas, you can put a heart inside a replica, which are basically puppets.
You're not wrong.
Okay, so we can give it lore and maybe plot things. And I like Prankster's Paradise. D. Because if it was just Monstro, the very first world, it would have been F. But I think Prankster's Paradise brings it up a little bit, and the Riku stuff brings it up a little bit. So it's not a complete waste of time.
I don't know if you would count this as part of that world, but I do enjoy the part when you get to go back to Traverse Town after you do Monstro and you find like Geppetto in the little house or whatever. You're like, oh, you guys are cool now, I guess. You guys are safe.
I love when he like sneezes us out, and I think Sora's like, hey, what happened to Pinocchio and Geppetto? And Donald's like, they're probably fine.
Yeah, they're probably fine. They just end up back.
They're on a boat in the middle of space, which you need a coat, a Keyblade car, or a ship to be fine in, but they'll be okay.
So we're going with D?
Yeah, D. I think D's appropriate.
I can rock with that.
Next is Never Never Land, Michael Jackson's home. What do we think about Neverland? Honestly, for it being like just a boat and a clock, I really like Neverland, the first game. It's the most different. We talk about Riku stuff with Monstro. There's a lot of Riku stuff in Neverland, at least in the first game, yeah. And like you get Peter Pan as a team member. You get the Tinkerbell summon, the best summon in the game.
Yeah, you get to fly around a little bit.
So like the water mechanics in Atlantica were bad, but I think the flying mechanic in Neverland is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because like you just get to fly around and like you can hit Captain Hook into the water and he'll fly up and kick his ass while in the air.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
The shadow boss fight is pretty good, and it's a boss fight that relates to the actual like Disney lore of like the shadow being like a different person. Yeah,
and there's a really cool, like kind of cute moment, I guess, where like when Sora learns how to fly, he's like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to tell Kairi about this."
Oh my god, I love that scene. Oh my god. Because it's like, because that's after Riku got away with her, and they're like, oh no, Sora's sad. He's like, wow, I fucking flew. And like, that's just Sora in a nutshell. Like, shit's bad, but eventually he'll like look at the bright side of life and just pick himself up and let's go.
Yeah, he's just cooling.
One of the worlds that show how deep Riku went into the darkness.
Yeah, you really start to get a feel for that.
Yeah, Monstro, you're right. He was just being a dick. But like, this is like, he controls Heartless. He can make Heartless. He's controlling Captain Hook's ship. He's like Maleficent's number 2 or junior or whatever.
In Destiny Islands, you kind of get that friendly rivalry kind of thing, or like that sort of like older brother messing with you vibe. And then in Monstro, it's like that, like kind of turned up a notch or two, where you kind of don't know, like, okay, is he like up to something else and he's trying to get Pinocchio, or is he just kind of like messing with Sora? And he rides that line. But like in Neverland, he's like commanding Heartless, and you're like, okay, this guy's kind of gone now.
And it's the first time we see Kairi, I'm pretty sure, since Destiny Islands, and she's like a comatose husk. We're like, oh shit, that's what happened to her, and she's not looking good.
Yeah, and that is a big moment too, because that's like Sora's trying to find his friends, and Donald particularly is like, fuck that, we're just trying to find the king, but we'll just go along with it. And it's like Sora finally got what he was like looking for, but it didn't really work out for him.
Yeah, like it's worse than he thought. But they're not just lost. Riku's just evil and Kairi's in a coma. So like we kind of need to do a little bit more than I thought. And we also go to Neverland and Birth by Sleep, which I think at least for Aqua is very story heavy, because that's I think the first time she sees Vanitas. I think it is.
Yeah.
Because that's when he breaks the Keyblade. And it's also sweet where it's like that's where like Ventus goes. That's where he like learns about like really dives into friendship of like put the thing that means most to you in his box, and he puts the Keyblade that Terra made him.
Yeah.
He puts that in there, and Vanitas breaks it. Terra being Terra, just
of course
listens to the evil pirate guy.
Yep.
Tries to beat up a child, but it's Peter Pan, so he kind of deserves it. And like it's one of the better designed worlds in BBS. It's one of the more fun worlds to explore, because at least in Aqua section, there's so much verticality and there's so much secrets in it. It's fun to explore.
Yeah, it feels pretty full for like a world in that game. There's like a lot to go through.
In a PSP game, no less.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was gonna say C, but now I'm thinking about it, I think B, because like it makes you feel really good. It's one of the first worlds that makes you feel like it's a really Disney movie.
Yeah, it has that. It definitely has that vibe from the movie, especially in the first game of like just kind of like being childlike and
yeah. When you get to the clock tower,
fun.
When you get to the clock tower, oh my god! Like top 10 Kingdom Hearts moments is when Sora gets the clock tower keyhole.
Oh, also, there's like a thing where you go to the clock tower like every in-game hour, and you get like a.
Yo, really?
There's like a surprise. Yeah. It's like every 12 hours in the game of gameplay. Every 12 hours, and then it resets. You can go, and there's like a treasure chest there with a different item or different thing for you to get. It's like a secret thing.
I did not know that. See, that's why together we're the best Kingdom Hearts lore people, because like 2 brains better than 1, we can conquer anyone. So be
exactly. And then you also have the Phantom there, which I think is a pretty.
Do not mention the Phantom. I will drop it down to C right now. Do not remind me of that fucker.
Never mind then.
Secret bosses are always a detriment to the world.
Well, we did forget to mention Kurt Zisa in Agrabah.
Would also bring that down. Besides Sephiroth and Xemnas, all the secret bosses are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that some guy won a contest, so they named a secret boss after him, but it has like a weird sounding name.
Dude, we're conspiracy. Either he won because of his name, or they just made up a name. There's no way in hell.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell. It just happened to be Kurt Zisa. Like a very...
That sounds like a yeah.
Like anime, but still sound Arabian sounding name. It wasn't like Jerry Smith. The secret boss.
Yeah.
The secret boss of Aladdin is Jerry Smith. Have fun with that. All right. So next is, oh my god, one so close to my heart is 100 Acre Wood. Every time I play this world, especially Kingdom Hearts 2, I fucking almost cry. Because like,
all right.
For some reason, like, well, I think it's because Winnie the Pooh was like so attached to my childhood. But like, that's just my childhood in a character. And I'm talking to it. I'm interacting with it. That's Winnie the fucking Pooh.
They do put him through a lot of bullshit with the pages keep getting stolen. He keeps getting his mind wiped.
The thing is, that motivates you to want to get the pages. Because like, no, in the first one, his friends are all gone. And the second one is his memories.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like the first one, you spend all this time, you get all his friends back, and then he's like, oh, Sora, you're my friend.
Yeah.
And then in the second game, it's like, I have no idea who you are. It's like, oh, God, that's kind of horrific.
it's just so wholesome. Like it's not like Atlantica and 2 where it's like, why am I here doing this bullshit sing along stuff? You're doing mini games, but it feels like you're helping, like actually helping Pooh, instead of like in Atlantica where you just feel like you have to go through the motions.
Yeah, they're like pretty fun to go through, the mini games, and they're also like pretty easy to do. Like if you're not trying to like, you know, get the Jiminy Journal stuff through, you can kind of just knock them out.
Yeah, and it's like, if you notice, like Pooh is really one of the only Disney characters Sora has like a deep connection with, because like even in 2 where he finally remembers Sora, he's like, Pooh, like he actually seems to like care for Pooh, and like out of all the Disney characters, well, I mean besides like the main trio, he seems to actually give a shit about Pooh, and it's like really sweet. Oh, and then 3 happens. I just want to know why. That world's so short, but why would you give it that perfect art style in 3 to make it that short and that irrelevant? And like the minigames are just bejeweled.
They're so unique, especially in 2. Like they fit within the story of it so well.
It's very organic. Like 1, you can kind of miss it, but 2 is like, if they've like put it in your face, help Pooh with the storybook. Is it weird that Merlin's like, that book is so important and powerful? What's hiding in that book?
Yeah, he has some weird attachment to it.
Because even in BBS, he's like, he tells each of the trios like, that this book very important. Want to look at it?
I mean, look, isn't the whole new thing is about like the world of fiction or whatever, or like unreality?
Pooh's a fiction within a fictional. Pooh well, Kingdom Hearts is fictional, of course, but even Winnie the Pooh is fictional in that world because he's his own universe, pretty much.
So what if Sora's in like Shibuya and he meets like Christopher Robin, like as a real what if he meets Ewan McGregor, Christopher Robin?
Yo, if Ewan McGregor's in Kingdom Hearts, that would be my favorite Kingdom Hearts, no matter what it is. It could be fucking a phone game, but put Ewan McGregor in it, it'll be my favorite Kingdom Hearts game of all time. So, unfortunately, because of 3, it can't be S, but I want it in A. I know it's just me personally. Where would you put it for you personally?
Honestly, I'd put it in like B or C.
Don't you dare say C.
But here's why.
Okay, convince me.
A large part of it
tear down my childhood for me.
Once you get into the world, it's not bad at all. Part of it is you have to go around and find all these damn pages every time.
Fine. When B.
Yeah,
but it's a top of B.
That's fine.
That fine. Matters.
I don't have beef with it. It's just like, it's just kind of, and you can completely skip it.
You can completely skip Monster and Atlantica.
Yeah, but that's like in a different, like...
Yeah, look where they are.
That feels different. Yeah.
Okay, so next is my other favorite, if you want to trash that too, Halloween Town.
Now, Halloween Town's pretty rad.
Halloween Town is the raddest. Jack Skellington, 10 out of 10 party member. He's like Sora, but dead. The first game, that world's actually pretty big. Because, like, you have the graveyard, you have all the Halloween Town, you have Boogie's, like, tall-ass mansion. And, like, Boogie, he's never been that good of a boss fight because of his gambling gimmick. That does have some good boss fights. Because, like, the Chomper one, the Experiment in 2, and do Christmas Town. And in Final Mix, where they give him the costume, which is Christmassy, but still Halloween Town, that's very insightful.
And you get to shoot the presents at those punk-ass little kids.
You beat them up in every game. It's kind of hilarious because everyone hates them.
Yeah, I think my only knock on the first game is like the Oogie's mansion gets kind of like weird to navigate sometimes.
True, but it's still not as bad as Atlantica because you can.
No, it's still not. It's not bad. It's just like a thing.
You can still walk. God damn. Is this B2? I mean, no. I think 2 really steps it up with Christmas Town. If it was just 1 and just 2 of Halloween Town, but I think Christmas Town is like so spectacular to look at and like be in. I think it brings up the A.
And it's like a nice progression of like they don't just do the same thing from 1 again. They like expand on like that world specific like lore.
They actually touch the story.
I think it also, I'm trying to remember exactly how, but I feel like in like the stuff that Dr. Finkelstein is trying to do like always directly relates to the bigger plot of the game in some way.
Well, because he's always messing with hearts for some reason.
Yeah, he's always like messing with hearts, but in like a way, like I know we're not like really counting Chain of Memories, but that's the only one I can think of where when you go to there, that version of Dr. Finkelstein is like, oh, I'm trying to figure out how to put a memory into whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then and then the first game, he's like trying to build a fake heart. So it's like, he's always like doing something that's like what is he doing here? And he like experiments on a Heartless in the first game. It's just kind of like.
And in the second game, he's building a puppet to put a heart in, which again, bringing back puppets. I guess puppets were always a thing in Kingdom Hearts. We just didn't know. A.
Yeah.
Our first day. Not our I know it's not our last day, but I think it just shows Kingdom Hearts 1 worlds aren't too great. Not the greatest part of that series. But now we're on the last world. End of the world.
Confusing name. Kind of a weird name.
I mean, it's a final. It's not the final world, but it's the final world of the game.
Yeah,
Fuck you,
it's
Nomura.
the final world, but not the final world trademark.
Yeah, and it literally is like the end of the world, because I think that's where like all the worlds are going when they're being swallowed by darkness. In my opinion, that's where Destiny Islands goes, and where you fight Anthem.
Yeah, well, and isn't I think somebody found in one of the like hallways in that world, there's like pieces of like things that you can tell are from the starting worlds in Birth by Sleep.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Aqua went through in 2.8, where she went through like Dwarfwood Lands and Cinderella's place and all that.
Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff.
They were swallowed up by darkness. So we go through End of the World. We go through that section where the fucking balls drop on you and there's a mob. Kind of sucks. We go through that room where you gotta fight mob after mob after mob to get that window open, right?
Yep.
Chernobog.
Yeah, can't forget Chernobog.
Really, like, pretty much best boss fight in that game, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
This is the most unique, coolest Disney pulls of Fantasia, and it plays fucking Dynaball Mountain, one of my favorite classical songs.
Yeah, that song slaps.
You fly and fight, which again, flying is actually a pretty good mechanic in Kingdom Hearts 1. You go through down a volcano, and then you go to Destiny Island world and fight Ansem, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, there's also that thing where you go through like the fake versions of all the other worlds you've been to, and you have to fight like in a room from each of those.
So it mostly is just a mob rush.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now that I think about it, Chernobog and Ansem, of course, is the highlight. Well, story importance, it's like the final level of the world, so it has to.
And I'll also just say, like, with the flying stuff, like the boss fights where you use flying are like built for flying, like really well. Whereas like in Atlantica, you kind of have to do this swimming during the boss fights because that's what you have to do. Like Chernobog, for example, like he like shoots fire and shit, and it's like you have to fly away from that shit, and it like works really well.
I think it's one of the only examples of Sora bringing something from another Disney world into like another world, flying, like that specific form of flying. Because I don't think that happens a lot because you have different Keyblades like the world, but you won't bring like a certain power. Or like, yeah, a certain power from the world to another world. So I think that helps Neverland's case. But so we put that in B2. I mean, well, there's the Ansem boss fight. That's very important, but it doesn't really bring it up for me.
Yeah, I mean, does that count as that world?
I count it as that world. It's not Destiny Islands. It's Destiny Islands in the End of the World because it's been swallowed by darkness.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Because it's not Destiny Islands because it's like a fucked up version of Destiny Islands because Destiny Islands is inside End of the World because it's swallowed by darkness. That's why you're there.
That's why at the end it's getting reformed.
Yeah, that's why why Kairi kind of lifts off because she's still part of that, but it's going back. So gameplay wise, it's just a mob fight with 2 good boss fights. I mean, of course it has that fucking room with the pods in it, but what the fuck did that matter in Kingdom Hearts 1?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess we can look at the whole thing, but it's like, does that really add to it to you?
Not really, no. I didn't think anything of it at that point.
I think it's good in B. Just because, like, lore, story, 10 out of 10, but fun.
Well, yeah, and like, it doesn't have much of its own thing going on, which I guess is kind of like... because, like, you know, obviously we'll get to them later, but, like, the final worlds of, like, 3 and, like, Birth by Sleep are kind of, like... are also like made up for the games. They have their own kind of thing and lore going on, where End of the World is just kind of like, here you go, guys.
Yeah, it's just like, this is where you're going now. No like real plot point to it. It's just where darkness is. Yeah,
and that room where you have to keep fighting until the stained glass thing is done feels like it takes like 4 hours.
That's where Tinkerbell shines, my man. That's where Tinkerbell shines. There in Chernobog. B. Alright, so we're done Kingdom Hearts 1. Still not terrible. I think it does have the worst story. Oh, of the main games, it has the worst. Pretty much just design. Because it has okay world, just like, it's very of its time.
Yeah, it's just kind of clunky.
But now we actually, well, Recom, we can get this out of the way. Castle Oblivion. So, like, okay, in Recom, it's kind of just a vessel for the game because you go into other worlds inside of it. So I think this is more just like lore and story implications of what we're kind of grading it on.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has some really interesting ones.
It's very important.
It is, especially once you get into Birth by Sleep. Birth by Sleep, and you figure out what it actually is. And you're like, oh, okay.
So the one thing that confuses, like, of course they retcon what it is, of course, but it's like,
yeah.
So only Sora is affected by the memory thing because of Naminé's there, and her and this place have a weird connection to where she can just steal his memories. Right? Am I right about that, you think?
I think, for some reason, I feel like Donald and Goofy are kind of affected, but just not as much.
Well, I think it's just because Sora's affected.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like through him.
Yeah,
it's
because
yeah.
everyone forgets about Sora because of that. They just happen to be there to see what the effect is happening of him.
Yeah, well, because like, they try to remember stuff from the adventure that they just went on, and they, like, struggle, kind of, especially as you get towards the end.
I think what Castle Oblivion is supposed to do is that you can go up, but never reach the top. I think that's why you go into Oblivion. Because the memory thing is just Sora. Ventus is in the top room, but no matter how far you go up, there's always another room. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's a pretty cool concept. Do you think Organization 13 was there for Ventus?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think that's like I think that's like, on some level, that's why they were there, was to try to, Xemnas, or Xehanort through Xemnas, was trying to find Ventus. Mm-hmm. I think that's like been discussed before. I think
it has.
Because in 2, there's that scene at I believe at Hollow Bastion where you see him in the hood going down and talking to like Aqua's armor.
Mm-hmm. And that room is connected to Ventus's room, because I think that's a room of remembrance and a room of forgetting. I don't fucking know.
But I don't think they know that they're looking for it.
Yeah, of course they don't know. They don't know shit. I think Marluxia. Well, see, I'm glad we don't count P58 because I forget what the reason they're told to go there, if they give a reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they even do. Yeah,
because I love where it's like Axel's gone for like, I don't know, 30% of that game, comes back, hey, people are dead, but I'm back.
Yeah.
I killed 2 of them. And also, do you think Sora was like a part of that plan, or he just like happened upon it and they put him into the plan? Well, Naname was there, so he had to be part of the plan, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
See, I think just Castle Oblivion is the most confusing place lore-wise, because he kept retconning it to be like, now there's really no... It makes Recom worse, right? Because story-wise, it's kind of confusing.
It's just confusing how they like come across it, because like, I don't know where they are. Like, what is that grass? What grass world are they at? Like, where are they supposed to be at after Kingdom Hearts 1? Where they're just walking on a path for whatever reason? Like, I don't know what that is supposed to be. I mean, I get, like, are they just in the Land of Departure world? But then, like, how do they get there? What's the explanation for that?
I guess maybe it's a hub? I don't know.
It could be.
So we can just put in C, just because it's out of, like, the main exclusive world. It's kind of the most there and kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's just kind of mid. I mean, I do enjoy the Game of Thrones type shit that goes on.
Yeah, that's the best part of that. That's the best part of that game,
where he just fucking snaps and explodes Vexen. That's like some hardcore shit.
It's so sad Steve Jobs died of ligma.
Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
Ligma balls.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the card, that game would be so much better. If it was for the card stuff. It is what it is. So now we're back. Now we're here to the actual good worlds. Finally.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. I guess Twilight Town, we can start there.
God bless.
This is what I'm most mixed on. Because, like, we can meme and say the first tutorial of Kingdom Hearts 2 is kind of mid L plus ratio plus where's Sora. Well, at least in 2, it's very fleshed out. Because it's a better Destiny Island, pretty much.
It feels like so established. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the reason why it's so confusing when you first boot that game up and you're like Roxas. I think that's part of what contributes to it being so confusing, because it feels like a world where he's existed for years. Like, it feels like he grew up there, and it's like, wait, should I know who these people are? But you're like, what is going on? Like, I have no context for this.
Okay, it has some Final Fantasy characters, but it has like original characters too, with Hayner, Pence, and Olette, and yeah, that's kind of interesting. Where again, it's like these people seem like they've been friends forever. I know they're programmed to be friends with Roxas, but I don't know if did they add memories to Roxas to make it feel like he'd been there for a while?
They have to have, yeah.
Even if he has amnesia, he'd be like, who the fuck are you guys? Well, we don't know how long he's been there.
Well, yeah, and they talk about doing like a project for school and stuff. And he's never like, what is school?
What is learning? I can't do math. I was born a year ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it also feels like an actual kind of Final Fantasy anime town where there's like, you don't just do story stuff. There's like the struggle tournament, the jobs, the trams, and there's like, in 2, it's actually a pretty big world because you have like the whole first town and then like a whole second town doing the mystery stuff.
And then you have the forest area and the mansion.
Yeah, so like, it's pretty
and then
big.
The train station.
And even in 3, I'll defend it. It may not be as big, but it's much more dense and like alive feeling.
Oh yeah, I think that's just part of. I think that's like because it's so full and so like lively in 2, that was kind of the reason why it was like kind of disappointing in 3. But if 2 didn't exist and we got what we got in 3, it would be like
good. It'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
And plus, it's not Sora's world; it's Roxas's world. Sora has no reason to go all the places Roxas did. He had to go to the town square to go to the mansion. But even in 3, they make it more alive with the movie theater and the restaurant and the people just talking about like stuff going on. It's almost like a live feeling Kingdom Hearts world. Yeah,
and yeah, points for Little Chef.
Honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards A.
Oh, I would at least go A.
Do you have something for S?
I don't know. I just think it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of like big emotional moments in that one.
We don't get a lot of those.
Like there's that moment where at the very beginning of 2 when you're Sora and you're going to go on the train to go to Yen Sid's tower and he like starts like crying because he's saying goodbye to these 3 kids that he's never met before, but it's because Roxas is like into him again.
You know what? If Atlantica is F, I'll put this in S just cuz like you're right. It's very important. Has good moments in it. We can meme all we want, being like, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts tutorial, where's Sora?" Blah blah blah. But actually, getting past all that, and as like a Kingdom Hearts fan who played every game and loved the games, I'll say yeah, it's S.
Even the tutorial part has really good moments. Like the whole thing with Axel, where he like shows up and like when he shows up during the struggle tournament and is like trying to get Roxas to like wake up, and then eventually he's like, "No, fuck this! Like you don't remember me," and then tries to fight him in the thing, and you get the 2 Keyblades.
We're back on this weird ass level. Ooh, okay, weird thing. Kingdom Hearts 3 had this playable in the trailer. It was not in the game. Oh, not playable in the game, which I found really weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yen Sid sucks. We've established this last time. So, like, his world's gotta suck. But Pete just adds... Pete was, like, the first bit of, like, freshness to it. Because, like, of course, we go through all the anime Twilight Town bullshit. And then we get to this place. And then we see Pete just looking through the window. And, we can see him while we're walking to there. Or through the door, I mean. But then it's just like, okay, Sora gets his best costume here. Cool. Maleficent comes back. Cool. I still do not care about this world.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a information dump.
Just like Yen Sid.
Yeah.
It's perfect for him.
Yeah, it's just like a exposition world. That's the word I was thinking of. It's just kind of like exposition. Like, I mean, it literally is in Kingdom Hearts 2. Here, click here to learn about nobodies. Click here to learn about Heartless. Click here to learn about organization.
Yen Sid already laid it out, like, this is what these are, and I can read a book? Fuck no, I ain't reading shit. Alright, so, I think this one be done quick. Yen Sid can suck D's nuts.
Yeah. I wonder if it was supposed to be attached to Twilight Town in 3 like it is in 2, but then they condensed Twilight Town, so they cut it out.
Probably. Because it's like...
Could be.
Well, in 3, there's no reason for Heartless to be there. So there might have been a story thing, but they probably cut it out too. You're probably right.